The family called me a failure. They didn't know I owned the building they were sitting in. Some families gather for warmth and love. Mine gathers to measure net worths like trophies. At the Vanderleen estate just outside Sonoma, the wine flowed, but the smugness flowed faster. I took my usual seat near the fireplace. Silent, present, underestimated. Snagged a ski lodge in Aspen, drawled my cousin Bryce, lifting his glass. 2 doors down from that startup guy, what's his name? The AI billionaire. Cute, said Marissa, snapping open her snakeskin clutch. We just acquired a chateau outside Bordeaux. Panoramic vineyard views, naturally. No neighbors for miles. I sipped iced mint tea and smiled behind the rim. If only they knew. So, Lena, Aunt Clarice's voice sliced through the smug fog. You've hardly said a word. Bryce leaned in, fake concern dripping. We were just curious about your housing situation. Here we go. What about it? I asked, setting my glass down. That shoebox in East Portland, Marissa chimed in, feigning confusion. Still renting, right? On Monroe Street? I nearly laughed. That shoebox was the first property my firm, Rose Hall Development, quietly acquired 6 years ago. To them, I was the broke niece. In reality, I was the landlord. I like the area, I replied smoothly. You're 36, Clarice said with a syrupy smile. Isn't it time to buy something grown up? Grown up? Try a $1.8 billion diversified portfolio of eco-restored buildings, sustainable retail centers, and, yes, Vanderleen Tower. The very estate we were sitting in. 6 months ago, I'd acquired it through an anonymous capital trust they couldn't trace. I didn't need applause. I needed leverage. You can't even get approved for a mortgage, Bryce sneered. I let them keep talking, because in 2 weeks, lease renewals would land on their desks. Guess whose name would be on the signature line? Dad looked up briefly from his glass of Bordeaux. Bryce, be kind. Lena made her own path. Clarice sighed like I'd failed the family by not marrying a venture capitalist or starting a candle brand. They thought I spent my days unlocking apartments for undergrads. What they didn't know was that Lena Marin, the disappointment of the Vanderleen family, was also Rose Hall, a rising force in socially responsible urban investment. Speaking of property, Marissa cooed, you heard about Monroe Street? Some firm bought the entire row. They're knocking it down. Poor thing, Clarice added. I guess you'll be moving soon. I held my face still. That firm was me. And no, I wasn't tearing it down. I was restoring it, with original tile work and affordable leases. Oh, I said. Didn't hear? Of course not, Bryce smirked. You don't exactly deal in multi-million-dollar deals. If you get displaced, Clarice beamed, we can make space in the guest house. With a little help, you could meet someone suitable. I'm content, I said, calm. So is my landlord. Marissa giggled. You can't live small forever, darling. The Marin name used to mean something. It still did, just not the way they measured it. Actually, Dad said suddenly, the board's concerned about the buyer of Vanderleen Tower. I tilted my head. Rose Hall Development took control months ago. No one knows who they are. Might be foreign. Definitely foreign, Bryce nodded. These global investors love legacy buildings. If only they knew the new owner was in thrifted jeans and a cardigan in their living room. And they've requested an audit, Dad added. They're asking questions, tough ones. Creative bookkeeping, like Bryce's phantom maintenance fund that paid for his Aspen Lodge. Or Marissa's designer bags labeled client outreach. Clarice's pearls twitched. But the Marin name still holds weight. This buyer doesn't care about names, Dad sighed. They want receipts, literally. I watched their faces tighten, their smiles quiver. Maybe Lena can help, Marissa suddenly chirped. She's in real estate. They all turned. Just like that, I was no longer a charity case. I was a potential solution. I mostly deal in residential, I replied sweetly. Not your scale. For God's sake, Bryce barked. You're useless. Even Dad said nothing. They had no idea how useful I was about to be. The next morning, I stepped into my real office, an entire penthouse floor overlooking downtown. Board seated, my assistant Isla said, setting my coffee down. Your family arrived early, trying to schmooze the independents. Let them try. All audit packets are ready, she added. They found more than expected. You still want to go through with this? They need to understand, I said. Legacy isn't a license to steal. Gone were the jeans. Today I wore tailored navy and quiet resolve. The identity announcement goes live in 20. Then let's begin, I said, grabbing my briefcase. In the glass-walled boardroom, my family was already flustered. Who the hell are you? Bryce demanded. I placed the briefcase on the head seat. I'm Lena Marin, I said, founder and sole owner of Rose Hall Development, and the person who now owns this building and several others you've mismanaged. Clarice paled. Marissa gasped. My father's pen slipped in his hand. Shall we begin? I asked, opening the folder. The audit revealed everything: inflated invoices, shell contracts, fraud disguised as flair. Bryce, I said, flipping pages, care to explain $2.3 million in HVAC expenses tied to your Aspen Lodge? He blanched. Marissa, I continued, your husband's firm charged 4 times the rate for doorknobs. You'd destroy your own family, Clarice whispered. No, I said. You did that. I'm just here to clean it up. Dad leaned forward. Sweetheart, we can fix this. I raised a hand. You laughed while I built, mocked while I learned, but now the house you built on illusion is about to fall. Why live like that? Marissa asked. Why pretend to struggle? I wasn't pretending. I was building quietly. Suddenly, phones buzzed around the table. A board member read aloud. Rose Hall CEO revealed, Lena Marin, heir to Vanderleen legacy, leads $2 billion property transformation. She's ranked top 5 in ethical development, another added, stunned. This will ruin us, Marissa whispered. No, I said. This will save you. Or, Bryce asked, or the IRS gets this? I gestured to the files. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. To restore what the Van der Line name used to mean. You have a choice. Join me or leave. I turned to go. Lena, Dad called. I was wrong about you. Yes, I said softly. You were. Epilogue. The media ate it up. The hidden mogul who dismantled her family's empire in one meeting. Clarice resigned from her charity boards. Marissa's husband's firm crumbled. Bryce was subpoenaed, but not everything was scorched earth. Dad asked to learn, this time as a student, not a patriarch. Marissa began volunteering at a housing shelter. She said it gave her something she never found at wine galas: purpose. 6 months later, I was reviewing quarterly reports in my Monroe Street apartment. Yes, I still lived there, because I believed in what I'd built. Tenants were thriving. Small businesses below were growing. A knock at the door. My mother. She wore jeans, no makeup. I got your invite, she said. The courtyard holiday party. It's not your usual crowd, I replied. I'm learning that's a good thing, she said, looking around. I never asked. Why this path? Because I didn't want to just inherit a legacy. I wanted to build one. She nodded. Teach me? Come tonight, I said. Talk to the tenants. That's where it begins. Later, I watched lights dance across Portland. Monroe Street shimmered below. Not a ruin, a revival. My phone buzzed. Offers, requests, deals. But I moved slowly, intentionally, because the best success doesn't shout, it stays. At the courtyard party, my family helped hang lights, talked to tenants, listened. They were finally learning. Legacy isn't what you flaunt, it's what you protect, what you elevate, what you leave behind. If you've ever been underestimated, counted out, or quietly dismissed, this story is yours too. Drop a comment, share your moment, and remember, success doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to last. Subscribe. We've only just started building.